And so the downfall of the civilization began. For God did not yet impose, and so let them be of their own demise. For it was that Adam, the king over all of this metropolis, was destined for destruction by his own creation. The Nephilim regarded humans no less than animals. They marveled at Adam's ability to procreate with any life form, and so he created many beings by planting his seed in a variety of animals, and he had the power to conjure up life forms in this way. Many of the abominable beings were plagued by confusion and madness, and were caged and conditioned for idols of fortune and entertainment. Many of the great beings paraded in public events and shows for all to see, yet were consistently enslaved by the higher order of the Nephilim. It was at this time where Adam sought to create what was in his conception the perfect man, for his offspring had been mostly of accidental occurrence upon mating with the women. He wanted to actualize the perfect manifestation of the human being to its fullest potential. It was this being he created to be immortal, of absolute power and intellectual capacity, an equal of Adam, yet still possessing the flesh of humans. This son of his was named Kronos, and he was a marvel to uphold, the absolute embodiment of human perfection in every aspect. For this son developed rapidly, and learned all the knowledge that was to be known, and possessed a powerful soul to which his will was of absolute manifestation into the world. Yet he was still a male in physicality, and so Adam sought to create a wife for him who was of the same glory yet as a female, and this he created was Lilith, who was most alluring. Yet because of their natures did they grow to despise each other, and so parted ways in pursuit of their powers of nature. Despite their magnificence, did they grow tired of civil life, and possess the desires all humans do, and so like most others began indulging in their animalistic pleasures. Lilith left the metropolis and sought to drift into the waters. Kronos grew accustomed to those depraved customs of his kind, and partook in mindless violence and destruction for his own amusement. He grew wicked in years of becoming among the humans, often venturing out to the cities where the humans resided in mockery of their inferiority, to which the humans had no choice but to beg for his mercy, of which he rarely granted. Kronos abided in his own affairs, and much like the other Nephilim, save Adam, possessed the genitals that humans have. For like the humans, the Nephilim had two genders, male and female, and both were capable of reproducing naturally this way. Kronos was of the higher caste within the Nephilim, and would often prostrate a superiority over the others of his race by random acts of violence. He begot many bastard sons and daughters in his metropolis, but hungered for a lust beyond the scopes of his nature. For these few, like Kronos, were gods of their own creation. He did not age, and could live eternally to his own satisfaction. And so, Kronos ventured out of his city to the realm of humans, and he witnessed their lowly standards of living, and laughed at their inferior technology and low intellect. For although the Nephilim possessed great powers in physical might, intellectual ability, and spiritual prowess, they lacked any notion of humility, to which was rare among them. Kronos took upon himself to find a woman to defile, a human specifically, for he grew tired of his own kind and sought to explore new realms of pleasure. He found within his sights, while wandering one of their villages in a state of drunken lust, Virgo, who was of humble origination and married to a righteous man named Enoch. For in all the land of this region, despite the culture of depravity and treachery that surrounded them, these two were the only ones committed to acts of virtue. For she was gathering water from a well in the town center in the midst of night when he came upon to defile her in a grotesque sight. Upon the witnesses, who stared in fear and repose, they could do nothing save watch this event unfold. And so Virgo, becoming overcome with grief at her defilement, went along her way, and Kronos back to his metropolis, for he had satisfied his innate lust of self-gratification. Virgo returned to her husband Enoch and their son, bringing them this unfortunate news. For as said, Enoch was a righteous man, and was overcome with anger and grief. He loved his wife with a full heart. Upon silence between them, Enoch went his ways to leave for but a moment, to collect his thoughts at this transgression he had no power to rectify. He happened upon a hill outside of the town, to where no habitation lived. He pondered up at the sky and saw many stars. For his pain of being one of the few righteous of men in this world, he could not comprehend how life could end up this way. He prostrated on his knees, in a state of confusion and despair as to the injustice to which exists pointlessly in the world. How could life exist in such a chaotic and senseless manner? And it was at this moment the sky thundered a flash of green light, and he heard a voice that was not of his own. I have seen you, Enoch, in your humble state of affairs, for in this world of great gods and of powerful beings, only you have found favor in my eyes. For those that are powerful, including the great King Adam, are all deplorable and abominable to my sight. But you, Enoch, are a righteous man, for you follow virtue before any man has discovered it. O great one, who might be this being that finds favor in me? I am only a lowly human raised on dust. For what could I have done to find such privilege in greeting such an empowered one? For I am the one that was and what will be. As I am the gate that opens, I am the gate that closes. For no life can render its existence without my command. You have found favor by being just and honest in your words and in your deeds. For you do not seek to gratify your pleasures, or seek methods of power to subvert others. I have seen you command generosity amongst your neighbors, of which you had no reason to do such things. I only see what is true, exalted one. But such injustice has befallen upon me, and I cannot seek vengeance, for these are matters from beings so much more powerful than I. What value does my virtue hold when I am a victim of injustice, such as what happened to my wife? I will grant you justice, Enoch, for you will see what true power is, and will be granted entrance to the kingdom of heaven, and your seed will be blessed as well. How can I justify true power, Lord? For you I cannot see. How can I hope to know that your power is real? Do you not trust your own being? Do you not see how you are made in my image, that you are the essence of what they unnaturally became? For you are the beginning, and they are the end. I do not understand, God. How can I be chosen compared to the Nephilim, who are so much greater than I? You do not see what you truly are. When you follow my guidance fully, you will see yourself for what you are, and the rest of your kind will as well. For that is greatness the Nephilim can never hope to uncover, for they can only see their forms and nothing beyond. They are an accursed race, and so will one day face my wrath. You must listen to my words and my commands, and then justice will ensue. What do you wish for me to do, God of gods? You will harbor all the citizens of your town, and proclaim what has befallen upon you. For many have been victims to the depraved musings of the Nephilim, and they will listen to your word. You are then to go alone, without shield or sword, and greet this god named Kronos, who has committed this foul act against your wife. At this you shall bring the citizens of your town as well, for they must be witness to what befalls you. When you have given public display, Kronos will be sitting in his city center for tidings, along with Adam and the other superior ones. You must declare a duel of battle against him for his transgressions, as is only just. They will mock and spit on you, but you must remain vigilant, for in that moment you will walk with me, and I will lift you up higher than the tallest mountain. At this Enoch was bewildered and in awe. But how can I do such an act? To do such a thing would be suicide and provide only humiliation. Surely there is no reason for any man to do such an act. To walk right into death, it would be of better ilk to remain and comfort my lonely wife, for she will be without husband, and to raise 2 children alone. They will curse my name and call me a fool. How could I do such a thing? For you do not see what the future beholds. How do you expect to make predictions when you can only see what is right in front of you? How do you expect to understand the truth of what will befall when you have no faith in me? O God, grant me a sign so I might believe in you, so that I might be witness to this power you claim to uphold. At this the ground trembled and shook, for there was a great earthquake that uprooted the trees around him. And so Enoch fell on his face, and was covered in dirt. Now God became silent, and Enoch was risen up. He knelt in awe towards this great witnessing of the God of all gods. He returned to his wife, and foretold her these events, for she was greatly distressed, but possessing great wisdom, understood and foresaw this great virtuous act. In the morning, when all of the town went about their ways, Enoch exalted himself in the town center and called an assembly for all to witness, and declared the acts to which he was about to commit. My fellow citizens, We have been transgressed by the Nephilim and have been victim to their vile contempt towards us. We accepted such injustice, for we had no means to rectify it, as we are weak beings of low intellect, possessing little spiritual power. We are a simple folk, keeping to our ways in farming and trade. Yet we are also selfish like these beings, and only think of our own selves. For this is why we never dare defy the gods out of fear towards our own mortality. But this day I declare that I will go forth and find this deplorable god named Kronos, and challenge him to duel for sake of my wife's nobility, to which he defiled. Let me say this so that all can hear me, that I have been witness to the God of gods, and heard of his voice, and this he told me would grant favor to our kind. I have been witness to the being that is the creator of all things, and he has anointed me. I implore you to follow me to the metropolis, and witness this event unfold. The citizens murmured amongst themselves, exclaiming him to be mad, for no man had so willingly attempted to engage with the Nephilim in such a manner, as they had never been witness to absolute bravery or honor. Yet their curiosity enabled them to bear witness, so they followed Enoch to the metropolis, where he walked naked without sword or shield, and arrived facing against the great god Kronos. At the sight of men, the Nephilim were disgusted and wondered as to what reason they would show themselves in such a large collective, for only in needs of necessity and contract were humans to ever walk amongst the metropolis. The humans avoided coming to this place out of fear of humiliation and transgression, but Enoch led them out by his own courage, and they were quite enamored, for his skin glowed with radiance and they were transfixed by it. Kronos sat on a throne, in the midst of drunkenness from wine and surrounded by many beautiful Nephilim women. He did not notice the humans, as he was transfixed by his current state of pleasure. Enoch shouted his name, while standing right before him, while the rest of the humans gathered at a distance, watching from the corners of the streets which were paved with black stone. Kronos, irritated, turned his head and greeted Enoch in his sight. What reason is there to be disturbed by such a foul sight as you? Speak your piece, for it better be worthwhile, as I can easily destroy you with nothing but a thought. Kronos, one who calls themselves the greatest of the Nephilim, an immortal being of attested magnitude and power, I arrive here today in my humble state to restore the justice that has been lost amongst this land. For you had ventured drunkenly in our village the night before in a state of lust, and found yourself my wife to defile with your wicked seed. I thereby come here to defend her honor, and challenge you to death. For I come bearing no sword and shield, but by the Spirit of God the Most High. At this Kronos laughed heartily, as did the rest of the Nephilim, whose attention were now aroused by witnessing the speech of Enoch, to which he continued, Your kind has been most depraved and wicked. You seek evil for the sake of it alone, as mere entertainment. You engage in acts of bloodlust as sport, and of sexual depravity as a virtue. You murder your own kind for sake of pride and pleasure, and so have been wicked in the eyes of the God of gods. Your ways of living have come to an end, for I have come to take away your pride. God is with me. He granted me wisdom and foresight. And I say this, I say all of you are destined for destruction, and should have no way to challenge the destiny that God has foretold. At this Kronos was no longer amused, and arose himself, befitting to be greater in stature than all who witnessed him. His skin shone like polished bronze, and his hair was thick and lustrous in a shade of dark lapis lazuli. His eyes, yellow, shone fiercely in anger and rage. You insolent fool, what makes you even worthy of declaring your being chosen by the gods of gods? For our king Adam is the only one to have ever encountered such a being, and he is the originator of our glory. How could you of all, deplorable and of an animal in kind, be of witness to such glory? An animal who has skin covered in earth, hair that is the color and shape of dead twigs. Your head is covered in lice, and your skin flakes in decay. Your muscles and stature are weak, as is your intellect and spiritual fervor. Can you even conjure up the elements and make fire from your own will? Our infants have more capacity than you, for you are nothing but a speck of dust, a lowly farmer of a degenerate kind. I am an immortal and of exalted perfection of all life, and you are nothing but the epitome of death and transience in this world, yet you claim to be exalted over me. I only let you live long enough now just to hear your ridiculous speech, for you are a mere amusement to my ears, and nothing more. Now I will even be one to grant you mercy, for hearing such a ludicrous rant that has entertained me as such. I will give you a chance to walk away and return to your mediocre life, and may you find joy in the mud and insects of which your kind call home. I take your counsel, yet I must decline, for God has so commanded me here today, and he has found favor in his eyes. As such, I am not like you, with skin that is tattered and a mind that is undeveloped. No, I cannot conjure up fire or thunder or other majestic feats of power. Even amongst the humans I am a deplorable sort, for I can't even wield a sword and can barely lift a shield. My farm is meager of sorts, and we get by with minimal grains. My wife and I live simply and without power of any sort. Yet regardless of all this, God has found me to be favorable, and so I come here without fear. And let all be of witness when I say this, that you are the one who is like dust, and your kind will be turned to dust, and so we are no different in the end. At this, Kronos was made angrier than before, and within an instant obliterated Enoch, and so he was no more. Not even a morsel of hair, nor a flake of skin remained, for he simply vaporized in the very air. And so Kronos let out a hearty laugh, as did his concubines. The rest of the humans were in confusion, and murmured amongst each other, for they could not comprehend why a man would commit himself so willingly to suicide. To them it was clear this god he spoke of was a delusion of his own mind, and so they all lost faith. Kronos commanded the humans to leave, for their sight bothered him so, and they left hastily, out of fear of befalling unto the same fate as Enoch. It was later in the evening that Kronos returned to the great temple of their highest caste, of whom Adam resided, and where he spent his days indoors, cultivating a deep sense of madness, for his lust of pleasure consumed him, and he no longer found any delight of any sort in any of the things of this world. Kronos foretold the events of this day, of the foolishness of Enoch, all the while laughing at amusement in how he obliterated his form with the mere split second of thought. However, Adam was not amused, and only grew sorrowful in conduct. Why do you express such a countenance of grief, O Lord? Surely this is an event of magnificent delight. Never have I witnessed such foolery. I commit myself to laughter any time I think of it, even several hours after the fact. You say this man has spoken to the God of gods. You say this has never happened from the humans before, yet do you not see what this means? What could this mean, my lord? Surely he is lying, or delusional of a sort. No, Kronos, for I have foreseen of this kind of event. I feared a day like this would come, when those humans might seek to overtake us. At this Kronos let out a great laughter, for such a concept appeared most ridiculous to him. How could the humans ever think to accomplish such a task? It would take merely minutes to completely eradicate their entire race, by my own volition even. We are of an ilk much greater than they could ever hope to be. There is no need for such a fear, my lord, lest you are the most powerful of all. No being could overtake you. So Ra has forewarned me prior to the inception of my race, to my absolute destruction, for I am an immortal, that to be destroyed means from my own hand, and only of the sort, for the humans are capable of an evolution that is foreign to our kind. They are bound to the fabric of time and of change. The foolish man has been destroyed. There is no hope for him to complete this ridiculous task. Oh, if only you could understand what I have foreseen, Kronos. There is no salvation for us, as we must accept what is destiny. For now they possess the spirit of what is possible, and what is possible will always be manifested by them. I respect your counsel, sir, but must disagree. I do not see how it is possible for them to ever gain such power. You will learn to see, Kronos, but for now I must retire, as I have grown tired of this conversation. Very well, my lord. And so Adam returned to his private chambers, leaving Kronos confused yet still confident in his exaltation, for he did not have the foresight which Adam was granted. And so many years continued on as they had, and Kronos grew more enraptured in pleasures of a wicked kind, and resorted to consuming the blood of his own kind, and partaking in carnal lusts that were most foul. And so Virgo, confused and distraught at the demise and destruction of her husband, sought to rectify it by meeting an herbalist that evening as a means to order a potion that would end her pregnancy. Sleeping that night, she was given a vision from an angel of God, that her conception was not to be forsaken, for her son would grow to become like Enoch in spirit, and exalted physically to overtake the Nephilim and bring justice to the land. And so she rejected the potion when it was completed the next day, and chose to grow in her womb the seed of Kronos, yet partook upon herself to be virtuous and kind, and raised the child to value that which was good in her eyes. For she possessed great wisdom, and upon the prophecy foretold to Enoch before he was taken, her son, whom she named Gilgamesh, grew to find honor in his human ways. He grew alongside his older brother, Methuselah, and together became of good friendship. It was at this time of youth when Gilgamesh set forth to conquer the Nephilim of the metropolis and restore justice in the land. At his diligence and motivated spirit, he dedicated himself to trainings of physical, intellectual, and spiritual endurance. Virgo, however, knew little of the esteemed knowledge towards the Nephilim, and could offer little to her son save encouragement and a fulfillment towards a virtuous path. She dedicated herself in prayer to the God of gods, and was given prophecy to ask for aid from a great woman of Nephilim descent, yet was different in her being, who resided outside of the metropolis in solitude. She was of a solid virtue, and would aid in teaching Gilgamesh the ways to cultivate that which was necessary to overthrow the wicked Nephilim. She was described as having the seal of the bull on her forehead, and so is the sign to seek. She did not know how to find such a woman, or what to make of this prophecy, and so carried on in her affairs normally. It was upon one day when a traveler arrived to Catan on horseback from the northern reaches of the land. He was seen to be of mixed race, carried both shield and sword, and was very much in need of a drink. There were several people who crowded around him, including Virgo, and they rushed to provide him with some well water, for he ended up falling on his knees in fatigue and weakness. "You are all most gracious. Never have I beheld such decency in this age of destitution, for I have traveled very far from the metropolis, and have seen many wondrous as well as contemptible sights. For the wild beasts which Adam has created roam the badlands, and they hunger insatiably in the destitution of this land the Nephilim laid to waste. Often my strength nearly failed me, for I do not possess the powers as these beings do. Yet did I slay these beasts who had devoured all the wild life thereof. They exist in drastic pains, eternally tormented at the very nature of their abominable creation. For them life is nothing but a curse, and so I did what was painful and slew them all. Yes, people, for the pain of it all, these beasts I could converse with, and they relegated this unto me. It is the beasts we see in the parades that have their voices forcefully removed so they may not speak to all who witness their humiliation. Their forms bring them constant pain. Their sheer mass and unbalanced limbs give them constant difficulties they carry with them their entire lives. Those who could speak told me themselves, 'Murder me, great warrior, for I cannot handle my own life.' No, I shouldn't say these were peaceful beings, far from it, for in their pleas for mercies upon me to end their lives they would often rush in and attack me immediately after, to which gave rise to my fright and self-defense, often killing them by sheer panic for my life. Yes, people, there are others too, outcasts and beings of all sorts who are even civilized in their own ways, for they are the product of Adam's creations and learn to live with their conditions, their skin garnered in colors that poison their own bodies, hair that cuts deep into the surface of their scalp, causing excruciating pain for their entire lives. There are some with 8 to 12 limbs, to which their spirit has no ability to fully integrate into them, and so are mostly lame and crippled. Some have conditions of the mind and so much terror and fright they often scream at you for no reason at all. For my good people, who reside here in Catan near the glory of the metropolis, do not be ignorant of what goes on beyond these borders, for there are many of the sort who live in constant suffering at the creation of Adam. What are they other than one being's disturbed manifestations and creations? What is his creation compared to that creation which is of the natural sort? They have forsaken the sanctity of time and have gone their own way. For you people who consider yourselves destitute, nay, you are the true source of divinity, to that which arose through the respects of time. The natural animals are conducted in their highest form from the nature of their environment. Do not pity yourselves, people, for there are far worse places to be. Yes, despite all of the suffering, however, I have not detailed the magnificence these beings expressed. For they held many ills and misfortunes of the body and mind, but how their souls were so magnanimous. They produced miracles of the sort I cannot describe with words. This village I stumbled upon, after needing to kill several of the beasts, was filled with other beings who were of a divine nature, the outcasts of the metropolis, centered in this location to the northeast, and called their settlement Atlantis. Here I found them to perform feats of strange magnitude, for they possessed abilities of turning lead into gold, holding pools of water into the air by their own minds. Some of them could shoot thunderbolts from the very palms of their hands. These were merely tricks of a sort, for it was their divine wisdom which impressed me most. For when I was gravely injured by the beasts of the Badlands, there was one great soul, who bore the sign of the bull on her forehead, and whose name was Ninsun. She healed my fatal wounds within the span of one night. She was resident of this wondrous and mystical village of outcasts, for together they built a paradise in the Badlands to which the Nephilim could never hope to construct, and possessed these great abilities at the detriment of their own bodies and minds. It was the villagers who expressed their skepticism upon these wondrous stories. "He tells lies. Surely he's conjuring up stories and tales for our amusement, or attempts to deceive us for his own gain. Perhaps he has gone mad like Enoch did." I agree, for to trust a half-breed will lead to degeneration. It is best we keep to our own kind and ways and forget this person. Defeated, the mysterious traveler responded, "Why would I tell such bold lies? For I do not wish to receive anything, save for this gracious drink I had been thirsting for the last day. These tales may sound exuberant, yet they are of the truth, good people. I urge you to listen so you may see the blessings you yourselves possess." It was there most people left this traveler on his own, for they grew tired of great stories as Enoch told. Yet did Virgo find within herself a deep sense of trust to this mysterious man, for she had dreamt the night before of this powerful being named Ninsun. So she approached the traveler in request of his aid. "You, half-breed traveler, have met and seen this woman who you call Ninsun, who bears the sign of the bull. I have been witness to a vision from heaven to find her, for I have a son born from the seed of the great god Kronos, and it is destined that he learn from this woman about the ways of their kind, so as to restore justice. So I hear of this Kronos, who is supposed to be the perfected man, yet has been known to defile many women the likes of you in villages like Catan. I can take you to Ninsun, yet must rest for some time as I have just traveled very far. Since I have no particular place to go, as it is my lifestyle to wander aimlessly throughout the land, I will escort you on your way to this place they call Atlantis, for although it is small, bears all the fruits and livestock of the wealthiest of estates, despite being in the Badlands. I give you many thanks, sir." And so the next morning they traveled far to this location, of which you could only hope this mysterious traveler knew where to go. After several weeks, they wandered the deserts north of the metropolis, and found themselves encamped with a lone hermit who built a meager farm with what little fertile land he could find, for the Nephilim had laid the entire land barren. He was most delighted to meet new visitors. "So I have been blessed today with the arrival of travelers. I do plead for your company for just a moment's time. I have not seen a face in these parts for many years." At this Virgo replied, "Very well, we may rest here shortly, yet we must be prudent, for we are on a journey of grave importance." "Ah, so you are. No matter at all. I see this young one has great potential. I see it behind his eyes. Do take a moment to rest here, for your moment of importance will arrive soon enough." And so the three rested at this man's farm, and partook in his food and drink under gracious hospitality, and he told many tales of the Badlands. It was then late at night, to which he then gave request at the mysterious traveler, who held sword and shield. "You, sir, are a great warrior, it appears. I beg for your aid in a matter that is beyond my own, for I have found an idol of fortune amongst the Badlands, and have no hope to save him. I am meager of sorts, and cannot hope to partake in his demands." "So you say. I have found many of these deplorable creations from the Nephilim, and seek to aid them in any way I can. Show me this being so I can be of help to them." The farmer led them all towards a dark cave nearby his property, and inside was a grotesque creature liable to grant fear to any person who witnessed it, for it was an amorphous shape with limbs and distortions that ran all along its body. It could barely move, nor could it rest in any way that granted its comfort. Its breathing was loud and disturbed, and showcased the consistent pain this creature lived in. "So, kind farmer, you have brought guests for me, and I hope this day I will finally reach salvation." "Ah, so you are aware of the presence of others. I never knew of your abilities as such." Yes, so I can perceive, yet can I barely see. Greetings to you. May I hope that they grant me death. It was Virgo who held pity for this creature. I have never seen a creature such as you. How could one exist as they are and only seek death? Do you not find the value of life in your existence? No, kind woman, for I have been designed as an idol of fortune amongst the Nephilim, for they live a life of greatness, and so created those such as myself as a means to balk at and exalt themselves. It is their custom to create the most deplorable of beings, so they may bring pity upon the possibilities of life and gratify their own supposed beneficence. My existence serves as a reminder for their great fortune, and so my life is a process of pain and suffering, so they may live in exaltation. For when they witness my sight, they believe it empowers them to a state of gratitude. This is the function of my existence and all those who are idols of fortune. It is my nature to be almost indestructible, yet do I continue to waste away in the existence of incessant suffering, for I have lived many centuries, and never has the pain ceased. The farmer now made his remarks. So you see that I found him on the edges of the metropolis, and served to let him free amongst my farm, yet does he never escape from torment at his own existence. I do not have the strength or tools to enact his death, and so must be of witness to the cruel ways of the Nephilim. Yes, death is hard for those like me to acquire, and so I remain in this state. Death is the salvation I consistently crave, for there is no process in this world that may grant me freedom, save for the long and cruel life that has been granted me. No, I cannot even hope to starve to death, for my body is designed for perfection in its deplorable way. That I may live for another 1,000 years only serves my own pain and suffering. I beg of you, if you are capable, to end my life now and end this incessant suffering. It was then the farmer made a notion towards the great traveler, who could only nod in reverence and pity for this tortured soul. He swiftly took out his sword and severed the creature to many pieces until he finally reached death. They mourned him and buried him in the Badlands, and remembered his true spirit of nobility and bravery in face of torment and suffering. They left the next morning, and proceeded onwards to their journey towards Ninsun.